Hello everyone, my name is Esther Oladele, and honestly, I am so enraged this evening. I'm reading directly from JAMB. Man proposes, God disposes. First of all, this line annoyed every part of me. Like, we're in a very serious issue. Please. Man proposes, God disposes. It has been established that a technical glitch affected 157 centers out of the 887 centers in the 2025 UTME. This was basically responsible for the general low performance of the candidate scheduled to sit the examination in those centers. This is where my anger lies. As such, all the affected candidates will be contacted to reprint their examination slips towards retaking their examination. Guess what? Starting from 16th May 2025. For context, today's date is 14th May 2025. And you're putting out a statement at 5 p.m. that teenagers would receipt an examination when it was not their fault that they should be taking the exam in the first place. Let's get that part very clear. That they are going to receipt these exams in 2 days' time. I have access to the internet. That's why I'm seeing this news at 5 p.m. Again, I don't know whether they make this decision from a position of authority, so they don't really think through how it affects other people or people from other class in society. Usually, when teenagers write their JAMB examinations, they go for holiday, go to their auntie, their uncle place. I did. So let's say a child from Nsukka, as at the time of this video, has traveled to, no, I'm even going far. A child from Cross River State, let me use my state, is currently in Lagos, doing holiday in her uncle and auntie place. You release a statement at 5 p.m. that this student will retake this exam in 2 days' time. The transport that uncle and auntie managed to put together for this teenager to be with them for holiday, they have 48 hours. 48 hours to put that transportation and send that teenager back on the road latest by tomorrow. Because to move from Lagos to Cross River State, you're doing a 2 days journey. Latest by tomorrow morning, where this news is out by 5 p.m., that teenager is expected to be on the road on their way back to Cross River State to retake this exam. That is what JAMB is implying. I want you people to sit down and think about it very, very well. Like, that is what JAMB is implying that will happen. Now, think of these teenagers scattered all over Nigeria. I'm very sure for the elite, most of their own teenagers, they might be outside the country, holiday or anything. You found an issue with your own system. You didn't think of the inconveniences of every other person. You just woke up and say they will retake the exams on the 16th. Like, I don't understand the thoughtlessness that goes into the decisions we make as a country. Like, the anyhowness of the system, our lack of excellence, inefficiency, and the crap of crime. To heighten your anger, I read this from Deborah Tulu. Deborah Tulu is a journalist, somebody that is very, very renowned in the educational system. She said that JAMB discovered a systemic error on April 25th, 2025. Today's date is May 14th. Deborah is saying that JAMB discovered this systemic error on April 25th, 2025. So if they discovered it on April 25th, 2025, why are we hearing about it on May 14th? And if he did not take, I think I followed the man, Alex Onya, the CEO of Educare. He was the one who wrote a petition. The one who wrote a petition to JAMB, threatening to sue it for them to check. They had to even send their Educare. Let me read directly from his account so that people get what I'm saying. Their education engineering team arrived JAMB headquarters this morning to commence audit with JAMB team alongside other aspects. Like, they had to write a letter. And then you're discovering today, that JAMB discovered this error. 25th of April 2025. Who is held responsible? Where does this end? Like, is that it? This is my question. The lack of responsibility, nobody takes responsibility, nobody goes down for anything. Now, 300,000 candidates are affected in the 5 Southeast states and Lagos State. These are the people that will have to receipt. 300,000 teenagers. Okay. There are some people who their pattern of learning is to cram. Not the best method, but they cram and they get things done, right? This is why I've moved on from this exam. You are expecting them to do that miracle in 48 hours. And what pains me in this whole thing is the complete lack of remorse. Like the way the statement is just so callously sent out there, like, okay. See, as a nation, we have to go through a mental reset. The anyhowness is too much. People are not held responsible for anything. Like, it's so upsetting. Like, I am genuinely pissed right now. Who is taking the downfall for this rubbish? 300,000 students cannot go through. I'm even going far. There is a girl. Her name is Timilehin Faith Opesusi. Pardon me if I don't get that pronunciation right. A 19-year-old girl who committed suicide. Because of her poor result. What happens to that girl? Will she receive the exams in 2 days' time? Would she? What happens to her? Her parents are mourning. Like, let's even go back to the one who was kidnapped previously. When people said, oh, can she be given an opportunity to write? Some people say, her mental health, her mental health. What becomes of all of those people that are not reported on the internet? People with that famous parents, people that did not train. There were teenagers who said they had technical glitches with their laptops. What happened to them? Those are the questions that need answer. We have to change as a country. We really, really have to change. It's really, really annoying. It's really, really annoying. May God help all of us. I can't even call God. This is our fault. This is really our fault. I remember the first time this whole incident came to the internet. It was a girl who was kidnapped on her way to JAMB. I think I have the post here. I made a post about it. So honestly, I'm really, really pissed off about the whole JAMB thing. On the 25th of April, I made this post on Twitter. It was about a girl who was missing. A She was kidnapped on her way to write JAMB. We were still dealing on the whole issue about JAMB asking students to resume very early in the morning. And when I say early in the morning, it's not 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock like for adults who go to school. JAMB set its time at 6:30 a.m. 6:30 a.m. for teenagers to wake up, locate their center. When this news first came on Twitter, people brought a lot of opinions saying that parents should be more responsible for their children, they should take their children to write exams and all. Privilege blinds, and don't get me wrong, it's the responsibility of parents to take care of their children, right? But now you have an institution that is supposed to take into cognizance everything involved in the journey plan in regards to an examination where teenagers will be writing. These teenagers usually age between the age of like 15 to 18. Their parents are working. Now imagine every parent on the day of JAM exams taking an excuse prior to the day of the exams that they want to take their teenagers to JAM. Now think of it from all sectors of Nigeria. Every parent who has a teenager that's to write JAM. The CBT centers would not be at their local government area or close to where their locality is. And JAM is going to counter it and say, oh, the students are the ones who pick where they're going to write an or, which is technically not true because there are fewer CBT centers, which means that when you register at a particular time, you will discover that, let's say you're staying close to Ikorodu or you're staying at Ikorodu. By the time you register, because of the fewer centers around, they're going to tell you that Ikorodu is filled. And before you know, the next available centers will be Shango Tedo, Abraham Adesanya, places very far. And it will leave you no choice but to pick them because you would want to write the exams. And this is the part they don't come out clear to say. So assuming they were supposed to be like 40 CBT centers in a particular local government, or let me not stretch it. Let's say there were supposed to be like 20 CBT centers in Shango Tedo, and there are only 5. Whose fault is that? Not the teenager's fault, but who gets to pay the price that there are only 5 centers at Changotedo, thereby leading for the person to be sent to a different local government. In most cases, or in some cases rather, they get sent outside the state. So you get somebody from Lagos State being put in the center outside the state. This is not me insinuating anything. It happens. And who gets to be blamed? The parents are supposed to take their children to. So there are different layers to this issue. There's the issue of time. And I think if we want to talk about this, we have to start from foundation, which is the time. No teenager should be trying to find a CBT center at 6:30 a.m. When you say these people will say, oh, you're supposed to find out your CBT center before the day of the examination. Again, privilege, privilege. Because we have politicians sponsoring JAMB forms for some children, for some teenagers in local communities. And their parents also try to, get money and all. One of my relatives was sent to Obudu to go write exams. She had no option but to get that Obudu. The parents don't know anybody in Obudu. The relatives don't know anybody in Obudu. In fact, if you want to say, oh, the person should sleep in a hotel, you have to pick somebody else to accompany that teenager to that location for them to sleep in a hotel. There's the issue of hotel bill. You have to know that they might have to do 2 nights because since the place is far, they would go, and probably not want to come back on the same day because of the time, which would lead them to attempt coming back on the same day after the exams. And by the time you do that, you expose a different issue, a different layer of this issue, which is what? Insecurity, kidnapping. Now, when you sit and you say that JAMB do not send these children to faraway locations, that they use their hands to pick it, it's really, really not true. Because you can't even pick your CBT center. And if that CBT center is filled because of the inadequacy of enough CBT centers that have the required number of computers, it leaves them with no choice to be thrown in another local government. That's layer one. And when you speak from your high chair and say that parents should be responsible to taking their children and making sure the children get to the CBT centers ahead of the 6:30 a.m., 6:30 a.m., that is the time matured sweepers have to come out with headlamp to be able to sweep. That is the time you are expecting a 16-year-old to leave the safety of their current environment to try to locate a CBT center far away from them. We dragged on this issue, and then thankfully, I don't know if it's through God or through the fact that the post went viral, she was found. She was found. This happened, I posted this 25th of April.